Mic test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mic test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Mic test.
What's that? No, I'm going to do whatever when I'm.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see you this morning. Good morning. Joining us today, as you can see, are some of the rising stars in our party. These are Republican members of the sophomore class. They're in their second term. Many of them have been working so hard for the last several weeks in their districts, trying to help their constituents navigate the chaoses that have been created by the Democrat shutdown. We're now on day 36, and it is a sad landmark in our history. This is the longest shutdown of any government in our history. And they've also made history in a number of ways, which we've recounted every day in our daily press conferences. Remember, this is the first time in the history of America that any party has had the audacity to close down the government over a totally clean, nonpartisan continuing resolution. I said yesterday, and I'm being honest, none of us imagined that we would be here at this moment. We couldn't have imagined that Democrats would be willing to force families to go hungry and workers to miss paychecks for 5 weeks on end, 50 days plus, and we never did imagine that they would be willing to use the pain of American families with such reckless disregard. But that is what we are seeing, and it is unconscionable. Despite the 15 opportunities they have now had to reopen the government, they have voted 15 times to keep it closed. That is the number that everyone has to pay attention to. All the Americans who are hurting because of this. They need to understand Republicans have voted 15 times to open your government, and the Democrats have voted 15 times to close it. They voted to deny paychecks to workers, to stop the flow of SNAP funds to hungry families, and all the rest. And still, somehow, they have the audacity to go on national television and gaslight the American people and try to pretend that somehow the Republican Party has some blame in this. It's the most outrageous example of political gaslighting that we have ever seen. And day after day, they have claimed, without any merit at all, this shutdown is somehow about health care. It's a blatant lie, and they know it. They tried to string together two totally unrelated issues: the expiration of the Obamacare COVID subsidies and the basic funding of the federal government. Those are two totally distinct things. Republicans have always been willing to have a conversation about the COVID-era subsidies and how to make Obamacare and health care more affordable. But we will not, and we should not do so as hostages in their political game. It was in no way necessary or appropriate to shut down the government in order to have bipartisan discussions about the subsidies. The reality is the Democrats could have avoided all of this chaos and all the pain, everything they've inflicted on American families, by simply voting to back the clean, nonpartisan continuing resolution, the 24-page simple document, just as they did 13 times under the Biden administration. They could have passed that 47 days ago. After the House did it, we did our work and sent it over there. And we would have had all these negotiations and continued. I'm going to wrap this up and tell you again why. The big question is why. Why would the Democrats have the audacity to do this? As we summarized so simply yesterday, and we will do so every day, they are motivated out of fear. The Democrats shut down the government out of fear. They have never been more afraid at any point than they are right now. They know, as we all do, what their own polls show. The leadership of the Democratic Party is the most unpopular with members of their own Democratic base. And we saw that in the elections last night. The old guard is desperately trying to use this shutdown to show the radical Marxist wing of their party that they can look tough to President Trump. That's because the new power center of the left isn't the moderates. It's the AOCs and the Bernie Sanders and the Mamdanis of the party. It's the activists who believe capitalism is evil, who disdain the founding principles of their own country. They claim that the salvation of our nation will be brought about by bigger government and more bureaucracy. Look what happened in New York City last night. For the first time in American history, an avowed, openly proclaimed socialist has been elected as the mayor of America's largest city. Zoran Mandami is without a doubt the biggest win for socialism in the history of the country, and it is the biggest loss for the American people. He is truly a committed Marxist. And the results of that race tell you everything you need to know about where the Democrats and their party are headed. From the backbench to their leadership, Democrats have fallen in line behind the socialist candidates. Hakeem Jeffries, as you know, is the highest-ranking Democrat in the House. He gave his full blessing to Mamdani and his socialist agenda. Chuck Schumer, the highest-ranking Democrat in the Senate and the highest-ranking Jewish leader in America, flirted with endorsing Mamdani all the way to the bitter end. Never mind the fact that Zoran has embraced anti-Semitic rhetoric and promised to arrest the Prime Minister of Israel if he visits New York City again. And then there's President Obama, who called Mamdani over the weekend to extend his praise and act as a sounding board for the young socialist. You can't make this stuff up. The man who made health care unaffordable with his own socialist scheme is advising the man whose false promises will surely make life unlivable for millions of New Yorkers who cannot afford to flee the city. As we said from this podium every morning, we talk about Mamdani for two reasons. It's a bellwether, because House Democrats, many of whom represent districts with much less blue than New York City, have embraced him with open arms. And because his brand of Marxism is truly a bellwether for the Democrats nationwide. We pointed out that other major metropolitan areas in the country are facing the same threat with candidates similar to Mamdani. And we're going to continue to call out their effort to mainstream and normalize socialism and Marxism in America. Working families watching this play out have a right to know that socialism and communism are not just confined in New York City. They are quickly coming to a town near you unless you stand up and let your voice of common sense be heard. While Democrats hitch their wagon to the socialist agenda, Republicans are going to continue to act in good faith on behalf of hardworking Americans. And we will remind a new generation of Americans about the painful and inescapable realities of history. We'll have much more to say about this in the days ahead. There were no surprises last night. I'll just summarize on the election, and then I'll yield to some of our sophomore stars here. There's no surprises. What happened last night was blue states and blue cities voted blue. We all saw that coming. And no one should read too much into last night's election results. Off-year elections are not indicative of what's to come. That's what history teaches us. By the way, it's worthy of note that Zoran Mamdani himself only received a little over 1 million votes, 1,036,000 votes. There are 8.3 million residents in New York City. 8.5 million actually is the number, I think. So about 12% of the city voted to turn their city over to the communists. We'll see how that works out. The lesson is that common sense Americans have to stay informed, you have to stay engaged, and you have to vote and let your voice be heard. But back to the urgent issue of this moment. Unlike our Democrat friends, Republicans know there's no prize for the milestone we've hit today. No one wins in a government shutdown. We pray that Democrats wake up to that truth very soon. We are very hopeful that they will come to their senses and help us to reopen the government. Remember, it's about math. We have to have 60 votes in the Senate, and we only have 53 Republicans. The entire country is waiting and calling on Democrats to put their political fight aside and open the government. Until they do that and do the right thing, House Republicans will continue to do what we've done since day one, and that is helping our constituents navigate the chaos and confusion of the Democrat shutdown back in our districts. And that includes the members of our outstanding sophomore class, many of whom represented here today. Some of them are here, and we want to thank them for their leadership and their resolve, and they're working in their districts and in D.C. and being all over the place. One of those leaders is Congressman Russell Fry, our sophomore class representative. He was the president of the freshman class, and so he still gets that distinction. He serves on our elected leadership committee. And I will tell you that Russell has been a strong voice for common sense, for conservative values, and we are truly grateful to have him with us today. Mr. President of the class, I'll turn over the podium to you. Thanks. Hey, buddy.
In this world, few things are certain other than death, taxes, and Democrats saying one thing and doing another. They say they're the party that cares about the American people, but everything that they have done for the last 36 days proves otherwise. Not only is this the longest shutdown of all time, it's also the dumbest shutdown of all time. But now that the election charades are over, maybe Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries can get the political blessing of their new savior, Zohran Mamdani, to reopen the government, to pay our federal employees, to pay our troops, and to allow struggling families on SNAP to receive the benefits that they've had for a long time. But make no mistake, this is not about governing. This is about gamesmanship to the Democratic Party. But I think, and I have faith, that the American people are smart, that they recognize a lie when it is being told to them. For years, during the Biden administration, we were told that the border was secure by the Democratic Party. The American people were told that the border was secure. It wasn't. For years, we were told by congressional Democrats that President Biden's mental faculties were okay, that he's never been sharper. That was a lie. And now we're told by congressional Democrats, yet again, that it is a Republican shutdown when we all know that the simple math is that you need 60 votes. So Chuck Schumer, I think it's time to call Zohran Mamdani and make sure that he's okay with reopening the government. They're holding the government hostage at the expense of the American people. I talked to a U.S. Marshal yesterday in the district in South Carolina. He is door dashing food and driving Ubers to pay his mortgage, to pay and feed his kids. I talked to a lady, single mother in Clio, South Carolina, last night. She receives food stamps. She's 100% disabled. She's unable to work. She relies on that assistance. And she is fearful about how she's going to feed her kids. She's traveling all the way into North Carolina to receive charitable contributions of food. That is the result of a Democrat shutdown. I talked to an elderly lady in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina yesterday. She has diabetes, she has shingles, she is unable to work, she is elderly. She needs that $88 to help bridge the gap at the end of the month so that she can eat. And she's fearful of what's going to happen next with this prolonged shutdown. For these people, these benefits are not a luxury, they're a lifeline. And it shouldn't take courage from them to band together and figure out how they're going to feed themselves. It should take leadership from the United States Senate to act and end this political charade. But that's what they want. They've told you from the beginning what this is all about. It's about leverage to them. It's not about the American people. It's not about the TSA agents who are still working, or the FBI or ICE officials. It's not about the military. It's not about the people in Clio, South Carolina, who rely on those SNAP benefits. It's about political leverage for them. And that political nihilism is malpractice for the American people. So these are the voices of South Carolinians, but they really echo, I think, what we all hear in our districts from the people that we represent. Right now, millions of Americans are all struggling because of this Democrat shutdown. And so to answer the question, I think, of what can be done, well, it's quite simple. The Democrats in the Senate need to do their job on behalf of the American people. House Republicans have already passed this. We will continue to put pressure on Senate Democrats to act, because at the end of the day, we care about the American people. We care about their struggles. We are not interested in funding illegal immigrant health care. We're interested in making sure that our troops get paid. So today, I echo what the Speaker has said for 36 days, and my colleagues. It's time to reopen the government and end the political gamesmanship. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Russell. And last night we saw the Democrat Party usher in their new leader. We've been talking about this for weeks, but it was made official. When the city of New York elected Zohran Mamdani, he became the new leader of the Democrat Party. And while the Democrat Party had no problem making the shift to socialism, which they embraced wholeheartedly, led by Hakeem Jeffries and others here, America, mainstream Americans, blue dog Democrats across America have not embraced socialism. America is not a socialist nation. You know, when the speaker mentioned that, is it any surprise that last night blue states voted blue? We're talking Virginia, New Jersey, New York. By the way, none of those were swing states. You had 7 swing states in the election a year ago today. And by the way, we celebrate that a year ago today, Donald Trump was elected president of the United States. And when he ran on very specific things, not socialism. 7 out of 7 swing states rejected that form of socialism that has now taken over the Democrat Party. What President Trump and House Republicans ran on was delivering results for American families. We said we would secure the border, and we actually delivered on that in record time. We said we would prevent a tax increase on anybody. Every American, no matter what income level you were at, you were facing a tax increase, in many cases a 30% or larger tax increase. We said we wouldn't do it. The Democrats bragged that they were going to raise your taxes. And the American people decided that, not New York City. The American people a year ago decided they didn't want a tax increase, and we followed through on that by preventing the largest tax increase on American families. Also by delivering no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. For seniors, 85% of whom will not have to pay taxes on their Social Security income when you factor in the deduction. We delivered on that. Every Democrat, by the way, voted no, because Democrats don't want hardworking Americans to keep more of their money. They want socialism. And let's think about those hollow promises that Zohran Mamdani talked about last night. Can anybody wait to see what those free buses are going to look like? I'm sure they're going to be incredibly safe and clean when you ride the free buses. Can anybody wait to see what those government-run grocery stores are going to look like? Shelves unstocked, expired food. I'm sure the friendliness of those employees that are government employees at those grocery stores. That's what socialism does. Socialism always overpromises and underdelivers. But should we be surprised? That's what Democrats up here in Washington have been doing for years. Does anybody remember the Inflation Reduction Act? Yes, that was a Democrat-created product that ushered in record levels of inflation. Where was the inflation reduction? They have no problem lying to the American people. Does anybody remember, by the way, the Affordable Care Act? Yes, that was Democrats only creating current health care law. The law of the land in health care today is Democrat-only created Affordable Care Act. That's anything but affordable. All we've seen is 80% increases in costs for families, record profits for insurance companies, but 80% increases on families. Democrats have never had a problem lying to the American people, overpromising to the American people, and never delivering the goods. And you contrast that with Republicans. Again, a year ago today, we ran on very specific things, and we've already, working with Donald Trump, ushered in a new level of American greatness. And it's not just here in America. We're finally starting to see that leadership around the world that we've been so desperately lacking when President Trump starts getting peace agreements in Middle Eastern countries, in other places. It's about delivering on promises for the American people. And all we're seeing during this shutdown is Democrats scared to death of the Mamdani wing of the party. They've said it. Some of them said it out loud. but they have exercised it in their votes. They voted time and time again to keep the government shut down, knowing they're inflicting suffering and pain on the American people, admitting that they're using that suffering to try to get leverage. They still can't tell you what the leverage is for. Leverage for what? To go boast to the socialist Mondami wing of their party that they're fighting Donald Trump, who was elected not by the people of New York or New Jersey or Virginia, but by a majority of Americans, 77 million Americans, 7 out of 7 swing states, running on very specific things that that president, Donald Trump, and this Republican majority have continued to deliver on. We're going to keep delivering wins for the American people, and Democrats will continue to give the hollow promises of socialism that come along with the failures of socialism that it truly delivers for people. And yeah, people in New York, when they realize how bad socialism is, they can just leave like they've been doing for years. They can move to states like Florida, to Texas. They can even come to Louisiana. But if they ruin America, if they're able to take hold with socialism in America, where else are people going to go? There is no plan B to this great United States of America, and we're not going to let socialism take over in this great country. With that, I bring up our whip, Tom Emmer.
Democrats have officially set the record for the longest shutdown, government shutdown in U.S. history. And each day that their needless shutdown drags on, the consequences get more and more severe. Yesterday, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said they might be forced to close certain parts of the airspace if the Democrat government shutdown continues into next week. Remember when one Democrat aide remarked that the party will not concede short of planes falling out of the sky? They weren't kidding. They are prepared to prolong the pain that they've inflicted on the American people because, as Chuck Schumer said, every day the government is shut down gets better for us. And as Catherine Clark and Chris Coons said, government shutdowns are one of the few leverage times they have. But while the Democrats have been busy playing politics with people's lives, President Trump has been hard at work delivering on the mandate 77 million Americans gave him 1 year ago today. In just 10 months, President Trump has delivered the largest middle tax cut in history. He brought illegal border crossings down to record lows after 4 years of the Biden border crisis. He ended 8 wars and made America respected again on the world stage. And he's just getting started. While President Trump has been hard at work delivering on the American First agenda for 77 million Americans, that's what they voted for, the Democrats have been hard at work obstructing that agenda and consequently the will of the people at every turn. The Democrat Party of today is not your grandfather's Democrat Party. Nothing proves it more than last night's election results. From a communist mayor in New York City to a Virginia attorney general who said he wanted to murder his political opponent, pro-terrorist Marxist radicals are now the left's mainstream. We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about. That is a direct quote from Kami Mamdani. And it should terrify every single freedom-loving American. This is the land of insanity Chuck Schumer and company have enabled with their party's political games, and now they must own the consequences. And with that, our conference chair, Lisa McClain.
Well, good morning on this nice, bright, sunshiny day. Let's begin with this. Today marks 1 year since President Trump won the 2024 election. And since that day, Republicans secured our border, unleashed American energy, and delivered the largest tax cut for working families in history. Promises made, promises kept. Yep, there's a lot more to come, folks. But Democrats, in that 1 year, they have done nothing but obstruct, delay, and deny. They've obstructed the American people's agenda, delayed millions of flights, and denied SNAP benefits for the hungry. And for what? Ask yourself, for what are the Democrats fighting for? Well, they're fighting for $1.5 trillion in new debt to fund health care for illegals and continue the wasteful spending. I mean, Democrats, you need to say that loud and say it proud, because as Republicans, we're going to make you own those votes. There's no turning back. Democrats want $1.5 trillion of wasteful spending and health care for illegals that you all are going to pay for. Over the past year, Democrats have wandered around with no plan, no vision, and no leader. But today, they finally found their leader. The radical communist mayor of New York City, a self-proclaimed communist who wants Americans to pay for global health care. Well, you wanted it, you got it. A communist who wants the government to own grocery stores. And a communist who wants the government to tell you what to do with your hard-earned money. Because you see, the Democrats don't think you are good stewards of their money. The Democrats think the government can be much smarter with what to do with your hard-earned tax dollars. Versus the Republicans, we actually believe in people. We believe you can make good choices. We don't believe you need the government to tell you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. We actually have a little faith in you. So does this sound familiar? Sounds almost identical to what the Democrats are leveraging the pain for the Democratic shutdown for. But let's be clear. Bowing down to the communists and socialists who control the Democratic Party, it has consequences. Whether you're one of the 3.2 million travelers stranded or canceled with flights, or the consequence of a family on food assistance wondering how they're going to get by. That's some of the consequences that the Democrats are okay using you to leverage for. Or a federal law enforcement officer going without pay while protecting our communities. But that's okay, because the Democrats think all law enforcement agents should probably just be defunded anyway, except when there's a problem in Detroit. And then all of a sudden, we're very thankful that the FBI and law enforcement came in to protect us. Bowing down to the radical demands of radical socialists is causing real Americans to suffer. Consequences for the safety of Americans, consequences for our economy, and consequences for your hard-earned money. And consequences gravely for our country. So Democrats, it is time to stop ignoring the consequences. It's time to stop bowing down. It's time to reopen the government, end the demands, end the shutdown, and let's get back to putting hard-working Americans first. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, questions? Yes, go ahead. I've called on somebody else. Go ahead. Thank you. We're having a press conference. Thank you. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am. And you should respect free speech. What's the question? What's the question? What's the question? I can't hear you because we have someone who doesn't respect the rights of their colleagues over here. I'd love to talk with you. Wait. I'd love to talk with you. Come to my office, okay?
You have an obligation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about it. I've been doing that. We did that before the shutdown began. We went to the White House. We went and sat in front of the Resolute desk. We brought Leader Jeffries and Leader Schumer in, and we had a discussion. The president said, please don't shut the government down. It would cause all this pain to the American people. This has never happened before. It's a clean, nonpartisan CR that every Democrat, including you, voted no on September 19th. You voted to shut down the government. You voted to stop SNAP benefits. You voted to not pay the troops, not pay TSA, Border Patrol. You may regret it now, but that's your vote, and it's on the record. So the president had us in, and they didn't want to have a dialogue or debate. They thumbed their nose in it, at him, and he had to do it. Appreciate it. Thanks for your input. Somebody give me a question that's real. Well, he and I talked about it early this morning. We woke up very early, and we talked about the outcome. And I reminded him that, as we know from history, those of us who watch these things very closely and always do, that an off-year election is not indicative of what happens next. I mean, look at Virginia, for example. Glenn Youngkin won his race for governor, and then the Democrats, the opposing party, did very well in the upcoming midterm election. These off-year elections are about different things, different dynamics. In Northern Virginia, there are a lot of federal employees. They're probably pretty upset, and they should blame the Democrats for that because, as we noted today, 15 different times Republicans in Congress, Senate, and House voted to open the government, and the Democrats, like our colleague who just tried to interrupt us here, voted to close it down. So it's very clear who's responsible for this, and I think that when we go into next year in the midterms, we're very bullish about the outcome. We have an extraordinary record to run on. You mentioned, Leader Scalise mentioned sort of what we call the split screen here, and I'll remind you all again, under President Trump and Republicans, we have had an extraordinary run. The first 10 months of this, 9 months, the 10th month has been shut down because of the Democrats. The first 9 months of this Congress and this administration, arguably the most productive of all time. We cut taxes, cut regulations, cut waste, fraud, and abuse in government. We solved the border crisis, which was the #1 issue on the ballot last fall. We're solving the crime crisis around the country. We got American energy dominance revved and going again. We have new trade agreements that are more favorable to Americans, which will ultimately bring down costs. We have put real reforms into the Medicaid program to strengthen it because we got people who are ineligible recipients like illegal aliens and young able-bodied men without dependents off the program so that the disabled, the elderly, and young pregnant women can have the resources they need. The president is literally solving wars around the globe. I think we're up to 9. All of that is on one side of the screen. What are the Democrats on the other side of the screen? A government shutdown. What did they accomplish in 9 months? Interruptions. They've assaulted ICE officers. They have spurred on political violence, and they closed down the government, which is their most basic duty and responsibility. I think the American people are smart. I think they will understand this, and I think the midterm is going to be a great one for us. We had a demographic shift in 2024. We have a very favorable election map on the Republican side, and it will be even more favorable once all the redistricting stuff is settled out. We have Democrats who are flailing. They have no leader. Their national leader now, as we've noted, is Mondami. He's a communist. Good luck with that. I don't think the loss last night was any reflection about Republicans at all. I think people are frustrated and angry, as we are. I am. The president is. And we express that different ways. But look, we look forward. We're looking forward to a great election running on our record. And we're going to get all of our incumbents reelected, and we're going to add to the number here. So that's the answer. Yes. No, look, the question is, President Trump wasn't on the ballot. He's right about that. He and I spoke about that again. But I told him this morning what we've talked about many times and what I've said here before. The president is on the ballot in 2026. President Trump is on the ballot next fall. Because if we lose the majority, if the Republicans, the common sense people here who are doing the job for the American people, if we lose the majority in the House and this radical element of the Democrat Party were able to take over, we've already seen that movie. They will try to end the Trump administration. He won't have 4 years, he'll have only 2, because they will move to impeach him probably on the first day of the new Congress in January 2027, and they will try to systematically unwind all the important reforms that we've done for the American people, to lower costs, to have a better quality of living, on health care, to increase access and quality of care. We are the party that is doing that, and the president needs 4 years to complete his agenda, not just 2. So he is in a very real sense on the ballot. He's fiercely committed to us winning. He is going to help. He's offered to do rallies and the teletown halls and all the things. He's sent out a huge round of endorsements of incumbents, Republican incumbents, just over the last few days. He is very much engaged, very dialed in, and he understands the stakes. President Trump is on the ballot in 2026, and we're looking forward to that contest. Yes, sir. Well, the economy and healthcare are two of the primary issues in the country, clearly, and that's why we are delighted to run on our record. We are addressing that. We are delivering for the people. We are fulfilling our promises. President Trump got more votes, by the way, in Virginia and New Jersey than either of the two governor candidates, the Democrats there. And one of the things that we ran on was improving these. We passed the American Families Tax Cut, the big, beautiful bill, and got it signed into law on July 4th. Many of those provisions will be coming into play now. It was filled with pro-growth policies. The people standing behind me all worked individually and collectively very hard on that legislation. And the American people are going to feel the positive effects of that before they vote next fall. We did it early enough so that the economic effects could be felt. And you're going to see costs go down and quality of life improve. Our policies lead to that. Socialism does not. Socialism does not lower costs. It doesn't lead to lower cost. It leads to human misery. It leads to the decay of society. It has happened everywhere. When the socialists, Mondami, and the Democrats here, Leader Jeffries apparently is a socialist now. He endorsed Mondami. He owns the results there. But when they come out and they go out into their districts next year and they try to tell people that socialism is the way of the future, anyone who studies history will tell them the opposite. The AOC and Bernie and Mondami and Jeffries, they don't tell people that when government takes control of everything, you have to give up your freedom, your liberty, your opportunity, your security are yielded to the government, and that the government controls everything. You don't have choices anymore. You don't have incentive. You don't have human dignity, because we represent and we respect the individual inherent value of every single person. We don't judge anybody by the color of their skin or what zip code they live in or whatever. We are all Americans. The socialist and the Marxist divide us into camps, and they value you not as an individual, but on the merits of the group that you are collected into. And they will take away everything from you as they promise to give you everything. It's a lie. It has led to the murder of tens of millions of innocent people in the 20th century alone. That is not who we are in America. And we are proud to go out and run on our record and on those truths of the founding principles of the country, because that's what's going to save us. Olivia. I don't have anything to do with redistricting. The Speaker of the House, people think, are in charge of everything. This is a state-by-state battle. We do believe at the end of the day that we will net more seats for the Republican Party than the Democrat Party. I mean, everybody, that's the analysis. I'll make a comment about the tragedy in California last night. What California did is very, very different, as you all know, by comparison to what a state like Texas did. Texas was following the federal and state constitution, following their state law in redistricting. California was not. They had to trample over their own state law, over their own independent redistricting commission that they had all put into place. It was a desperation, a sign of desperation on the Democrat Party. It was a game to try to rig the election, as if you could gerrymander California anymore. They managed to do it. I mean, there's like 53 representatives from California. We had 9. They want us to have 3. I mean, it's just a blatant example of Gavin Newsom's immoral leadership and the fact that they will do anything to try to rig the system to win. They know that they cannot win on their policies. They know that they don't have a national leader other than the Marxists now to try to set the tone and guide the course. And so they're going to try to rig the game. We're going to win that anyway. We're bullish. We're gonna fight like warrior poets in California, and we're gonna make sure that our Republicans get reelected. And we're gonna do that all around the country, and we're gonna continue to move forward, pursuing the America First agenda, delivering on our promises, and making this country great again. That's what we're committed to, and we'll continue to do it. Thank you.